From your perspective, what do you think the key change his team is going to try and make? Because obviously you mentioned they didn't really have many answers to what you guys were doing. What do you think the key thing is they're going to try and do here in this rematch?
Look, I don't know if Diego can change his game because he's just a gamer. You know, if you look at it, he expects to cop one to give you three, and if he's tough and he hits hard, so if he catches you in that pocket, that's where he does most of his damage. He's also pretty dangerous on the ground. He's got a, we've studied him a lot. You know, he's got some, he does some really, he's got some very, very slick moves. But you know, we've gone through it all, and hopefully we've ticked all the boxes, and we're ready for it.
Alexander Volkanovski, obviously one of the best featherweights of all time. You could argue he is the best featherweight of all time. One of the best fighters of all time. We can remove weight class from the conversation entirely. The guy's got insane cardio, insanely high fight IQ. He comes out here, he game plans well, and he works his ass off. He's taking on Diego Lopes, a very dangerous grappler who also has some very solid striking. He's a fighter coach hybrid. He's in Mexico coaching most of those high-level fighters. His jiu-jitsu is very good. His striking is very good. There's some random power in there. He's very exciting. He's very tough. We just saw one of the most spectacular fights ever when he beat Jean Silva in his last fight. This is a very good rematch. I'm good with it. I totally understand saying Mosvar deserves it. Personally, I think Mosvar deserves it. I think the order should be Mosvar, then Lerone Murphy. Then if you want to do Diego Lopes, that's fine, right? Because he's been here before. It was somewhat competitive. He keeps beating people. He knocked out Jean Silva. I get it.
Thing you got to take into account here is for Diego Lopes, the first fight was in Miami, Florida. This fight, he's going to the home country of the champ. This fight's in Australia. If he doesn't get the knockout, it might be hard to get the win on the points.
I think he's going to be better. I think he's got a chance to get the win. It's going to be tough. He's fighting the champ, the guy that's, like I said, a Hall of Famer. He's more dimensional, but he is getting older. He has achieved things that Lopes hopes to achieve. If his trainers are top guys that I think they are, they will look at tape like I looked at, and they will see opportunities to get better. I think that at the end of the day that he's got a shot. I like the over. That would be my main play. The over, I think it's 3.5.
Over 3.5 rounds, I believe it was minus 135.
I am a different guy. I know what I need to do for a win this fight. Those were Diego Lopes's chilling words, a direct challenge flung at the featherweight king. He isn't just confident, he's so confident in himself and his entire team, openly declaring surprise at how others underestimate him. This isn't just a rematch, it's a declaration of war from a fighter who believes he's cracked the code, transforming from the man who came close into an entirely new, unstoppable force. He believes a massive upset is not just possible, but inevitable, and he's ready to shock the entire world by proving it in the cage.
Let's get your prediction. You versus Volkanovski, UFC 325 on January 31st. If you had to guess, how is this fight going to play out?
This is a hard fight for me. I know Volk had a lot of experience. This guy know fight 5 rounds, 5 minutes, you know. But now I am a different guy. I'm a different guy. I know who I needed to do for win this fight. I'm so confident in myself, so confident in my team too. I'm surprised everyone this January 31.
The audacious claim sets the stage for a rematch unlike any other. Experts, analysts, and fans are locked in, scrutinizing every angle of Volkanovski versus Lopes 2, trying desperately to decipher what will truly change this time around, while some staunchly back the reigning champion, citing his unparalleled experience and tactical genius. A growing number are placing their bets on the challenger. This isn't a clear-cut prediction. The consensus is fractured, mirroring the high stakes and the sheer unpredictability of two elite fighters colliding again. The split opinion itself hints that the outcome is far from certain.
Doesn't work. Now, I know Volk is a little bit older. He is a little bit chinny in my view. But, he's obviously going to be hard to hit for anybody who's not like really, really good. So, I take Diego seriously. He gets a second crack. He gets to learn from it. Let's see what happens. But like if we're out there and it's round 3 and Volk is, out there doing the salsa dancing and Diego can't find him. He's like a fucking ghost out there just, styling on him. I'm going to be like, dude, what was the fucking point of this?
Alex Volkanovski stands as a titan in MMA, arguably the greatest featherweight of all time, a claim some experts extend to being one of the best fighters, period. His legend is built on insane cardio, an incredibly high fight IQ, meticulous game planning, and an unmatched work ethic that sees him consistently outperforming opponents. He's a fighter who leaves no stone unturned in preparation, embodying a level of dedication that has kept him at the pinnacle of the sport for years. This track record of dominance makes him an almost insurmountable challenge for anyone stepping into the cage. The crown.
Twice, right? Like if this thing backfires, I feel like it kind of backfires for Lopes as well, right?
I mean, that's always the case, but this one's a little bit different only because it would have been twice in 3 fights. You know what I mean? Like it's one thing to lose once and then that person leaves and you can kind of get it back. And it's like, oh, that person never beat the other person. And that's true, but it doesn't tend to matter as much. But if you lose like thoroughly twice, and again, these are big ifs, but if you lose thoroughly twice, then it just becomes like, this is a trinket where like, we're not even approximating. And then again, you also get back to, which is like, I think one of the central problems in MMA right now, generally, which is guys just handing titles back. Now, in the case of Volk retiring, you wouldn't be mad at him, but it's just as a larger phenomenon, whether people are moving divisions or retiring or whatever, no one is able to take belts off some of these guys sometimes, and they just have to hand it back. And that is bad for a division. The best thing for a division is for a title, as for someone's chain to get snatched. That's what you want. You want someone to just lose. And the person who is the upstart has to take it from the person who is the entrenched power.
When breaking down what Yet, across from this legend stands Diego Lopes, a fighter who proved his danger in their first encounter. Described as a very dangerous grappler, he also boasts very solid striking and random power that can change a fight in an instant. Lopes isn't just a physical threat, he's a fighter-coach hybrid, honing his skills while training other high-level athletes in Mexico. His jiu-jitsu is exceptional, his striking refined, and his overall presence in the cage is both exciting and incredibly tough. He's a multi-dimensional threat, capable of ending a fight on the feet or on the mat.
I mean, again, this is where the cage cutting comes into play. Like, okay, so let's think about it. How are you going to beat Volk? Well, you got to touch him with your punches. How are you going to get close? You're going to have to pressure him, and you're going to have footwork, and you're going to have to really put him back on his heels. But if you can't cage cut, he's going to find an exit. That's one problem. You can try and wrestle him, get to his back, create back exposure. He's a pretty fucking good scrambler, and he's a pretty fucking good wrestler. So that ain't so easy. So you're kind of back to square one about this. Now, that might be some cases where he puts more hurried offense together. He puts more stuff in combination to force error or to just give himself like numeric volume. Or maybe he's really worked on his cage cutting. But this is the central problem. Like, dude, the Volk is a ghost. He's slippery. Hard to hold down, hard to do any of those kind of things too. You have to be really very good about real estate management with him. And if you're not, it's just hard to do anything.
One subtle yet potentially decisive shift in this rematch is the geographical location. The first fight took place in Miami, Florida, a neutral ground. This time, however, the octagon travels to Australia, Volkanovski's home turf. This change is not merely cosmetic. Many experts highlight the significant impact a home crowd and potentially sympathetic judges can have. If Lopes doesn't secure a definitive knockout, the pathway to victory via points might become exponentially harder, adding another layer of pressure and tactical consideration to his approach.
No, I think Lopes has got a good opportunity to change some things. You know, there's nothing like being in there with someone for a bunch of time to get a feel of how they move and you know what's different to what you expected, what they did that you know was a surprise, or even maybe, and this is a weird thing as well, sometimes you expect someone to do something, but then when it happens, it's not how you anticipated it. It's weird, and I feel like there are a lot of people that expect Volkanovski to move a particular way, and like Aldo just could not figure Volkanovski's movement out. And it just looked like Aldo was like, hang on, this is not what I expected. And I feel like, sometimes having a bit of time with someone, then some time to dwell on it. And remember, Lopes knows that he's the one that really needs to raise his game to change something. I feel like it's a really good opportunity. It's not the kind of thing, if I was Volk, I'd be wanting to do, to have such a good performance and then to go, let's run it back. It seems like an unnecessary.
Volkanovski's coach, Joe Lopes, revealed a telling insight into their team's mindset. Alex doesn't actually care who stands across from him. The real challenge, from their perspective, was the chaotic uncertainty of scheduling, not knowing if they were fighting in December or February. This constant flux messed with their planning and preparation far more than the identity of the opponent ever did. For Alex, it's always been about getting a firm date and a signed contract. The name on the other side of the roster is almost secondary to the logistical stability.
I think overreaching. I think that's the easiest thing to fix. Is get your feet underneath you and try and cut the cage down. It's a weird thing, footwork, because it was. I remember when I was learning boxing back in the day when MMA was kind of a thing, but there was no gyms certainly, so everyone was going to wherever they could train. And I was doing a lot of boxing sessions, and there was such an obsession about footwork and control of the space, and I feel like that's massively underutilized now in a lot of ways. There are, like Volk is a master of footwork. He's a master of movement. Again, I mentioned the Aldo fight, one of my favorite fights of his, where he constantly pulls Aldo out of shape, makes him reach for an opponent that's not there to be hit. And I think that's the challenge with Volk when he's fluid and when he's grooving, when he's found his rhythm. I just think he's very, very difficult for people to judge based on range. You've got to take that away from him.
Joe Lopes also offered a stark assessment of Diego's core fighting philosophy, dispelling notions of a sudden stylistic overhaul. He views Diego as a fighter who inherently lives for exchanges, relying on his toughness to take one shot in order to land 2 or 3 back. This willingness to trade, especially in close quarters, is where Diego becomes most dangerous. While acknowledging the challenger's slick moves and real threats on the ground, Joe's analysis suggests they anticipate Diego to remain true to his aggressive, high-risk, high-reward approach.
Alexander Volkanovski, obviously one of the best featherweights of all time. You could argue he is the best featherweight of all time. One of the best fighters of all time. We can remove weight class from the conversation entirely. The guy's got insane cardio, insanely high fight IQ. He comes out here, he game plans well, and he works his ass off. He's taking on Diego Lopes, a very dangerous grappler who also has some very solid striking. He's a fighter coach hybrid. He's in Mexico coaching most of those high-level fighters. His jiu-jitsu is very good. His striking is very good. There's some random power in there. He's very exciting. He's very tough. We just saw one of the most spectacular fights ever when he beat Jean Silva in his last fight.
Luke Thomas, a respected analyst, injected a healthy dose of skepticism into the rematch narrative. For him, the only genuine reasons this fight feels even slightly interesting are Volkanovski's age and the damage he's accumulated in recent grueling battles. Beyond these factors, Thomas struggled to identify any clear technical path where Diego could suddenly flip the script and overcome the massive skill gap. His analysis suggests that without a fundamental technical shift, the fight's dynamic is unlikely to change drastically in Lopes's favor.
That's what makes rematches so intriguing. I assume that Volk is going to come in here. I assume he's probably going to wrestle a little bit. I assume Volk is going to be looking to take away the distance because the distance is where Diego was able to land that. Diego's only opportunities to land that big shot are right at distance at the edge of the striking range or in the pocket going nuts. I think Volk's going to come in here. I think he's going to wrestle a little heavier than he did in his last fight. I think he's going to back up Diego Lopes and he's going to stay in his face. I got to pick Volk here. I picked Diego the first time. I was wrong. I was almost right for a second there, but I was wrong for 24 minutes of a 25-minute fight. If you think Volk's old and the chin's gone, you got to go Diego. If you think he's got some gas in that tank still, and he's just going to come out here and work his little ass off, then you got to go Volk. The bet has always and will always be Diego Lopes wins inside the distance because you get a refund if he doesn't, and you get paid if he does.
Thomas further elaborated on the persistent problem Volkanovski poses, his infuriating elusiveness. Alex is still hard to hit, hard to trap, and smart enough to stay safe whenever he senses even a hint of danger. This isn't just about defensive skill, it's about an acute fight IQ that allows him to control distance, angles, and tempo, making him feel like a ghost in the cage. Luke emphasized that seriousness alone from Diego won't close such a profound skill gap when facing a fighter who is seemingly impossible to pin down. A critical point raised by Luke Thomas was the potentially devastating consequence of a second loss for Diego. If Lopes falls again, particularly if Volkanovski retires soon after, this double defeat could haunt his career forever. Even if Diego eventually claims a championship, the lingering question of his inability to overcome Volkanovski would remain a perpetual footnote. This isn't just about a single loss. Losing badly twice establishes a narrative that's far more damaging and harder to shake off than a sole defeat. Luke Thomas extended his analysis to the broader health of a division, particularly when champions retire without losing their belt in the cage. He argued that if a fighter like Volkanovski leaves with his title, or after thoroughly beating a challenger twice, it can make the championship itself feel like a trinket. This phenomenon, where belts are effectively handed back rather than snatched, is detrimental to a division, implying a lack of true contenders capable of taking the crown from an entrenched power. When dissecting what Diego actually needs to do, Luke Thomas consistently circled back to fundamentals, pressure and cage control. Landing one perfect shot isn't a plan. Lopes must cut off movement, force Alex backward, and critically, limit his exit routes. Thomas stressed that wrestling isn't a simple solution either, as Volkanovski is a skilled scrambler and hard to hold down. Without mastering real estate management and fixing these basics, Diego risks repeating the first fight's pattern, always a step behind an uncatchable Alex. Dan Hardy, another keen analyst, leaned heavily into the idea that Diego's greatest advantage lies in learning time. There's an undeniable difference between conceptually understanding an opponent and actually experiencing their movements and pressure inside the cage. Fighters often formulate expectations, but the reality of feeling an elite opponent is entirely different. Hardy highlighted that having already shared the cage provides an invaluable, visceral understanding that simply cannot be replicated through tape study alone. Hardy further explained how Volkanovski's unique movement has previously bewildered elite opponents, citing Jose Aldo's struggle to figure out Alex's elusive footwork. Aldo, a legend himself, looked visibly confused, unable to anticipate or counter effectively. The critical point for Diego is that he has now felt what that confusion feels like. This direct experience, however frustrating it was initially, gives him a crucial starting point to adapt, allowing him to anticipate and counteract the subtle feints and angles that fooled him before. For Dan Hardy, the most realistic and impactful area for Diego to improve quickly is footwork and discipline. He emphasized that overreaching and chasing is precisely what Volkanovski exploits, punishing opponents who extend themselves. Diego needs to stay balanced, close the distance more intelligently, and actively cut off the cage instead of simply following Alex. This isn't just a technical tweak, it's a fundamental shift in controlling the octagon space, a mastery Volkanovski himself exemplifies, and a crucial counter to his evasive style. Angela Bedelli underscored the comprehensive nature of Diego's threat, clarifying that he's dangerous everywhere, not confined to just striking or grappling. This multifaceted danger means Alex can't simply focus on defending one area. He faces a constant evolving threat from all angles. Bedelli's insight implies that Diego's versatility makes him a complex puzzle, capable of switching tactics and exploiting openings wherever they appear, presenting a formidable challenge to even a seasoned champion like Volkanovski. Crucially, Bedelli pointed out that Diego has already felt Alex's pace and pressure, and even more importantly, knows he can hurt him because he already came close once. This isn't theoretical, it's a lived experience. That belief, the tangible knowledge that he can inflict damage and compete at that level, fundamentally changes his approach to the rematch. Diego isn't guessing anymore. He possesses concrete evidence of what's possible, and that self-assurance alone makes him a significantly more dangerous opponent this time. Angela Bedelli, while leaning towards Volkanovski, predicted a strategic adjustment from the champ. He expects Alex to wrestle a little bit, close the distance, and crucially stay in Diego's face pace instead of allowing him space. The dangerous zones for Volkanovski are long range and wild pocket exchanges, and Bedeli believes Alex will actively seek to neutralize these threats early. This tactical shift suggests Volkanovski will aim to smother Diego's offensive opportunities, controlling the range and dictating the terms of engagement. Legendary trainer Teddy Atlas focused on Diego's profound hunger and the invaluable learning derived from his first loss. Being younger and having come so agonizingly close to winning the belt left an indelible mark, forcing real growth that transcends mere technical skills. It's a mental evolution. Diego now understands the immense pressure and atmosphere of a title fight, and crucially, he knows he can hurt Alex. Atlas believes this crucible of experience will forge a calmer, sharper, and more ready version of Diego for the big moments. Teddy Atlas also detailed specific technical refinements Diego needs to implement. He emphasized the necessity for Diego to be more structured when Volkanovski begins to press him. This means no wild rushing, no desperate, untamed swings. Instead, Diego must remain composed, ready to counter precisely when Alex steps in. The focus is on leveraging his reach more effectively, timing his shots with surgical precision, and ensuring he is more set and balanced when unleashing his offense, maximizing impact and minimizing errors. When directly asked about Volkanovski's future, Diego displayed a respectful acknowledgement of the difficulty inherent in fighting at the top for so many years. While he refrained from outright predicting retirement, he underscored the profound significance of this particular fight for both men. Diego emphasized his sole focus on delivering a strong performance, making it clear that his objective is not to write someone else's ending, but to author his own victory, ensuring that if it is Volk's last, it will be undeniably memorable. In a final powerful statement, Diego openly admitted Volkanovski's vast experience and 5-round endurance. Yet this respect was immediately followed by a fierce reaffirmation he is not the same fighter anymore. He stressed that he knows what he needs to do now, placing immense trust in his team and unequivocally stating that surprise is coming. His message was simple yet potent. Volk may be a legend, but this evolved version of Diego believes he is unequivocally ready to win, poised to deliver a shock for the ages. This rematch isn't just a fight, it's a high-stakes psychological chess match, with the entire MMA world watching, with experts so starkly divided, some backing Volkanovski's proven genius and experience, others championing Diego's renewed hunger and critical learning from their first encounter. The narrative is wide open. When predictions are this split, it signals more than just a good fight. It means the moment the cage door locks, anything, truly anything can happen, promising an unforgettable clash where legacies are defined.